Hello, and welcome to episode 100 of Design Curious Podcast. I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. We did it. We finally made it to 100. I've been talking about it for a long time, and I want to thank you, our listener, for keeping our podcast in the top 100 design podcasts in the U.S. We've also been in the top 20 in Canada and also in Australia and just all over the world. It's fun to see where everyone is listening from. So I appreciate you for tuning in each week and getting all the great information that I have here for you. And I'm really excited because today on the podcast, I have with me Lillian Janik. She is my associate designer, and she has been with me for the past 6 years. She's my right-hand gal and been helping me grow my business and organize it, and just been so instrumental in all of the things that I have going on, including the podcast and my design mentor. So today we'll learn a little bit more about her career path in interior design, and we're going to talk about our giveaway. So let's get into it. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. Hi, Lily. Welcome to Design Curious Podcast.
Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And we are having a party today because we're celebrating 100 podcast episode number 100. It's a special one. And I believe in celebrating all of the milestones. And so this is definitely one for me. Lily has been along my side the whole time, encouraging me as we are doing this podcast. And so I thought it'd be fun to have her on today so you guys can get to know her as well. So Lily, let's talk a little bit about what inspired you to get into interior design.
Well, I grew up a creative child. I always liked doing art, and that was always my favorite subject or thing to do in school. I always loved, doing artsy things and being creative. Even from a young age, I knew that I wanted to have some sort of creative career. As I got older, like into high school, I wasn't sure if maybe I wanted to do graphic design or interior design. But I always just loved, like you always talk about how when you were a kid, you were always rearranging your room and switching it up. And that was definitely me as well, as it was so many other designers. And so I just kind of had a good feeling about interior design and decided to pursue that.
Great. So we both went to Sac State for interior design. Go Hornets, singers up. So when did you decide to go to Sac State? Like, was that your first school of choice, or did you look at other colleges?
I definitely looked at other colleges. Basically, the way it happened was in high school, I pretty much knew at that point that I was very curious in interior design. And so I decided to go to the local community college because they had a whole interior design program, basically. And so I was like, well, I'll go there, take a couple classes, see if it's a fit, and kind of figure out what exactly I want to do. So I went to the community college first for about 2 years and did all of my, like the base courses, and then also did some design classes, including CAD and some materials classes and some basic space planning and things like that. And I just really enjoyed it. And after that, I was planning on going to a 4-year university to finish up my degree, but I ended up taking a gap year. And by the time I got home from my gap year, I was kind of just like, I am ready to get a degree. So I had applied to several other universities, some in Southern California, some in Washington and Oregon. But by the time I was ready to move into a 4-year, I was like, Sac State is quickest, easiest. It seems like a good program. Like, let's just do this thing. So that's kind of how I ended up at Sac State. But it ended up being, great years of my life. so much fun and a great education and ultimately leading me to you. So I'm very grateful that that's, where life took me.
Right, because you were required to do an internship. And so you reached out to us and applied. I remember at the time we were interviewing several people for an internship position, and we chose you. We thought you would fit on the team really well, and you did.
Yeah, I had several friends in my classes who had interned for you before and, had just told me you need to intern for Rebecca or at least try because it was such a great experience for them. And so, yeah, it was quite a process back then. I showed you my portfolio and it was more of like a formal interview.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just so glad that you liked me enough to choose me and then to keep me around.
Yeah. Now, during your gap year, is that when you did some work with Habitat for Humanity?
Yes. Basically, Hurricane Sandy had hit the Eastern Seaboard right after I had graduated high school. And so it kind of grew into a goal of mine to move to New Jersey and help rebuild homes there. So after I finished my 2 years at American River Community College, and in that time, I had kind of taken that time to also plan my year off. And so
Mhm.
at that point, I was ready. I moved to New Jersey and I volunteered for Habitat for Humanity for the year. And I was technically under the volunteer coordinator there. And so I worked with volunteers on site, which ended up actually being a great education because I learned things firsthand, like that marble is porous because the volunteers wrote on some marble tiles in Sharpie, like,
Oh.
things like that, like
Yeah.
things that, are just random little tidbits of knowledge that you learn when you're on a construction site every day. So it was a great experience for learning little bits that help me in work, but also just a great experience overall.
Okay, great. So, and I remember when you started your internship, that was about the time that I had moved the business out of my home. I was buying a new home. And so we moved our business to a co-working space. So tell me what it was like for you coming into as an intern to that position and what kind of things did we make you do back then?
I just remember feeling like I didn't really know anything. I think I was like, oh no, like it felt kind of straight into the deep end. As far as just school is just so different from real life. And I wanted to do well, in my internship. And so my memory is that I was kind of just scared of not knowing what I was doing.
Mm,
But you guys had so many great resources already set up for me, or just in general, I feel like in the business. So
hmm
I remember, I feel like I did some kind of preliminary furniture sourcing, but we had the Excel document with kind of all the furniture places that you used. So I feel like I clicked around that Excel sheet quite a bit and,
hmm
furniture manufacturers. I also remember you had me do some, or maybe that was the furniture sourcing I was doing was for your house because
Oh,
you were
yeah.
because you were
That's
just
right.
moving into your new house. And
hmm
I think that maybe was part of feeling a little scared. It's like, oh no, I'm sourcing furniture from my, internship boss's house. Like she's a designer. How am I supposed to know like what to do for her? And I didn't know you as well then either. I feel like now
Yeah.
I'm better sourcing for your
Yeah.
house. I know your style and stuff better, but it was quite an experience and I think fun looking back,
Yeah.
trying to figure all of that out.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I thought at the time, I thought it could be a good, I mean, I could understand the pressure of trying to design for me, but also it wasn't an actual client. So you had a little more leeway, I think,
yeah,
less pressure to actually pick something that was going to be used in the client's job, whereas or it could just easily, direct you somewhere else.
yeah, I can see that. I think in my brain, I didn't fully understand being in school, like the designer client relationship, or if that would have more pressures. Being in an internship, it felt like you were the boss.
hmm
I
Yeah.
had to impress you and stuff. But yeah, and you guys also took me on a ton of different meetings with you. I had a lot of different experiences you guys just took me to all your meetings and So I definitely got to see a lot and learn a lot. And just being in a group kind of office dynamic was
Mm-hmm.
really fun and interesting for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and fortunately for you and us at the time that you finished your internship, we actually needed more help. And so we were looking to hire part-time. And so you were available for that. And then we were also deciding that the co-working space was not working for us. And we got our studio in Midtown. And then you helped us move in there and set up all of our IKEA furniture and everything.
Yeah.
So tell a little more about how your job has changed over the last 6 years.
Well, I went from intern to then a junior designer. And intern to junior designer, I feel felt similar, but there was more of a learning curve around learning, time tracking and
Mm-hmm.
client relations and things like that. Just more of the real world of working in a design firm, learning a lot of those aspects. But as far as my job responsibilities, I feel like it was kind of almost similar. It was lower level design work, but I did definitely, I think I was still doing like initial furniture selections then, maybe, which is thinking back on it, a really great and awesome thing to do as a young or beginning designer. It's kind of a big deal still doing initial furniture selections. Yeah, I kind of remember doing a lot of that and just, learning the ways of being in a design firm. And then from there, I went to associate designer. But between those times, there were a lot of changes in other employees in the design firm. So my
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities shifted greatly
Mm-hmm.
from junior to associate designer. And so just taking on a lot more responsibility of the client relation aspect and making design selections along the
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yeah, and I think part of it was that you just genuinely were really good at sourcing those initial selections. Like we could tell that your eye was in line with what we were wanting to see. And so we just kept giving you that task because
Oh,
you were
good.
good at it. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's still my favorite thing to
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's awesome. So did you ever, coming out of Sac State, think that you wanted to go into business for yourself or that you always thought about working for someone else?
No, it was never my ambition really to ever own my own business, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Even in New Jersey in my gap year and before that, I always thought if I owned my business, it would be as a partnership. And in New Jersey, I met designers who were partners in business, and I always liked that idea. But it was definitely not my intention to own my own business.
Mm-hmm.
And especially coming straight out of school, it just felt, again, like the school environment to real life, I could tell it was different,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that there was still a lot of learning to do, that I didn't know everything, and that, mistakes could be expensive. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, want to take that on myself, basically.
Sure.
And so it just always made sense to me for multiple reasons to go into work for somebody.
Mm-hmm. I also don't think that the university encouraged self-employment necessarily in that program because the program was primarily commercially focused. And most obviously, you're going to work for a corporation or some larger company when you go into commercial design
Mhm.
rather than be a solopreneur. So that
Yeah.
was kind of the path. But we both had this professor who
Yeah.
mentioned
However
that,
many years later,
yeah,
yeah, same
still
professor.
scarred. Well, because he said that you need to really be passionate about interior design because you'll never make money at it.
Yeah.
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 How did you feel when you heard that from him?
Well, part of that message too was you'll never make money, but you might make a little bit more money if you go into business for yourself. I feel like
Mm,
I heard that a lot too. And since I didn't have any real intentions of going into my business for myself, at least not for a while, was like, well, we'll see, I guess. So I don't know what I thought, honestly.
yeah.
I guess I just thought, well, I guess we'll have to see. I don't know what you think. Do you remember what you thought when he said that?
I was pretty discouraged. Not that I was in it for the money. I knew I was in it for the passion, but I was like, we could at least make a decent living. I just felt it came from a embittered place. Like maybe he needs to go talk to somebody about that or switch careers or something because he just seemed a little bitter about the lack of salary or something.
Well,
So,
the other thing though, I remember at the time I Googled average
mm,
salary of an interior designer in Sacramento or something like
yeah.
that. And what came up, I feel like this seems just kind of an average, nice salary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's nothing crazy, but it's also not like you're going to be in poverty.
Right. Yeah.
So I was just kind of, I don't know. I feel like he's being dramatic or something.
Dramatic.
I
Yeah.
think I just didn't pay as much heed. I was like, well,
Right. Yeah.
who
You're
said
not going to
I'm
be,
fine? So
yeah, you're not going to be a starving artist. That's for sure. So, like, you'll have a decent job, especially probably even more so in commercial design, I think, over residential. The issue with being a residential employee, and this is kind of my little soapbox, is that I want to rise the tide for everybody, is that with residential, they're all small firms, they're all female owned. And so a lot of us are thinking small about money. And really, I think we need to be paying ourselves and our employees a lot more. That's my whole soapbox issue there. But
we've always been really good at money mindset and just thinking bigger and bigger about the business. I mean, I'm so lucky to work for you for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that I've had a great role model in having a good money mindset and just dreaming big and having big aspirations for your business. So yeah, so it's funny we both started like had that professor.
yeah.
But we've both come a long ways. I mean, especially
Mm-hmm.
since then. So it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think it's also been helpful that you also love to mentor and work with the interns that we do have come through. You're usually kind of their point of contact for
Mhm.
the most part on the day to day coming through the firm. And I can see that you do enjoy teaching them and helping them learn a little bit more and getting a more realistic idea of the career. And you've been instrumental in helping me set up my design mentor and this podcast and everything. So it's been nice to have you alongside for that and have like minded with speaking life into other people's interior design careers. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, and with the interns, I remember what it was like being an intern and the questions I had. And I just remember in school being like, okay, I'm learning all this stuff about interior design, but it's still not really clicking for me, like how you actually would run a business or like how
Mm,
you would actually manage a client. Or, there are these broad stroke topics of interior design that I feel school didn't quite prepare me for. And
mhm.
so with the interns, I always want to make sure that whatever questions they have, or I can just offer up information about these things so that they do have a realistic idea and have a little bit more of an idea than I had, coming out of school about what it's really like being a designer.
Yeah. Yeah. Real good. So, your personal design style, I mean, you've obviously taken our quiz. So, what is your style for the audience?
It's like cottage, traditional.
Yeah.
So I'm more maximalist, so traditional flares, and more English cottage kind of. So
Yeah. And so, my personal style is not that way. And yeah.
yeah.
So how is it for you when you're sourcing and I want to see certain things? I mean, of course we do it for the client, but I definitely, I'm the face of the company. I kind of have we do have a look that we do for our clients, which is a lot more clean than probably your personal style. So how is it working for someone else and having to work in a different style than is your personal one?
I think it's fine. I really enjoy working in styles that aren't my own. I really love doing mid-century, sourcing from mid-century projects. And like the kind of ultra modern kind of contemporary stuff is really fun. So I enjoy designing in other styles other than my own. So it never really bothers me that, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I just have to make sure I'm catching myself if I'm, like, I feel like sometimes I do source items that are maybe cusping a tad more traditional. I'm like, stay on track. You gotta not get, the traditional flair and keep it.
Yeah.
But we have such good communication that, you don't like something, or if you want something different, then you'll just tell me, and it's no hard feelings. We just get it done. So
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of your favorite parts, obviously, about the career. What are some of your other favorite things that you do in your position?
Yeah, so sourcing of furniture, sourcing of construction finishes, and then I do like doing all of the construction drawings, especially the initial ones where it's really figuring out the new layout of a room or how a wall is going to look or whatever it may be. All of the kind of design phase type of tasks where it's really thinking about what the client's wants and needs are and trying to figure out the puzzle of how best to do it. Like that all is my favorite part, really.
Yeah. And the least favorite parts we could probably all guess are usually like the back end paperwork.
Back end stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Tracking time, it's pretty typical for all of us creative people. We just love being creative and doing that part of it. And then the other part is not as much fun, but it's an important part of it. So.
It is. You have to do it. So just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as we're celebrating episode 100, Lily and I decided to have a little giveaway, or it's actually kind of a big giveaway.
Kind of is.
Yeah.
Kind of awesome.
All these tools that someone starting out in their career or in their business would need to have. And these are things that we use every day. So, one of them being, and they're not at all sponsored, we just put together this package. So it's of our favorite things. So one of the first ones is a Hulken bag, which if you've never seen these before, they're great because, well, Lily's the one who usually uses it because we put all of our samples in there and then she's dragging it around to our initial
personal lifesaver.
Yeah.
We used to have just like a shoulder bag where we'd bring it to consultations and I'd have it on my shoulder and it'd have a ton of tiles and things. But the Hulken bag is on wheels. So now I can just wheel it around and it's a total back saver, basically.
Yeah.
And it's huge. We got the big size so you can fit all your goodies in there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's really a lifesaver and a back saver. For years, I tried to figure out the best method, and I had a little rolly cart that you put files in, and it was not sturdy enough to really get the samples, and then some samples fall out of it. And then the shoulder bags would just really weigh you down. You need 5 different bags. So this is great because it can just roll anywhere.
And we have so many more samples than we used to, too. Like, very limited because it was however many pounds I could carry, but now we have a ton of samples in there, so it's really opened up the world to us.
So you're gonna love this Hulken bag. And the other thing that we're including is a laser measure, which is critical, especially when you're trying to get ceiling heights, vaulted ceilings, or if they're 18-foot ceilings, you don't know. And so a laser measure.
If you don't have a partner who's working with you, then you really need this.
Yeah, you can get all the way across the room. And as long as you have a line of sight, you can get that measurement. So that's a critical thing to have. What else do we have going in there, Lily?
We have our planner.
Oh, yes. So you've heard me talk about this planner on the podcast before. Is in December. And then we had Sierra on to explain about being fully focused and using this planner. And it has just been a game changer. I've talked about it a lot for Lily and I. We think it's necessary for anyone starting out their career or business.
Gotta have a planner.
Yes. So it's one of the full focus planners. Okay. And then we also have our branded graph paper pad. So a pad of graph paper. This is what we're usually using to draw our measurements on. So we'll draw out to the house that we're measuring, and then it'll all go on this graph paper, and then we'll input it into CAD afterwards. So it has Rebecca Ward Design logo and everything. It's a nice pad of paper. And then we've got a beautiful candle, a custom scented candle This one is, what scent did we go with for the
Ugh.
I think it's the modern
I think it's
glam.
the mid-century glam.
Yeah, mid-century modern glam scent. So whatever we thought fit that aesthetic.
It's a good scent.
There's 3 of them and they're all really good. So you get one of those. It's a wood wick candle, I believe.
It is. It's nice.
Yeah. So really nice. And then we've got some erasable pens for your planner.
And your notepad.
And
you
your
need
notepad.
a pen. So
yeah.
And we also love those. We use that a lot in our everyday life. That's what I take to consultations, to take notes, and then we use our planners all the time. So love them.
Yeah. And I think that no day is started without a good cup of coffee. So we are including a Boss Lady mug in there to have your coffee and feel like a boss while you're drinking it. And did I miss anything? Was there anything?
Oh, that's it.
Okay. So this is our giveaway package. We are going to show you what it all looks like. There'll be a post on our Instagram. So if you go to @ourawarddesign, you'll see this post, and how you can enter to win this is 3 things. First, you're going to need to leave a review of the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. And then you need to follow us on Instagram if you don't already, and then leave a comment on our giveaway post and tell us what your favorite podcast episode is of all the previous 99 that we've done. Tell us what your favorite
from. So.
Yeah, because I'm also curious, because I, want to know what people love and what they want to hear more of. And so let me know what your favorite episode is. So if you do those 3 things, then you'll be entered to win. And there's also bonus entries. So if you want to get a bonus entry, you can also comment by tagging people on the Instagram post. Anyone who you think might be interested in listening to the podcast, or interested in maybe even listening to this episode and getting the giveaway prize. So that's how we're celebrating episode 100. I think it's a lot of fun. I like all the things that we're giving away, and we use all the things.
We genuinely love all of them. So.
Yeah. It comes from the heart.
All of our favorite things. So.
Yeah.
And useful too.
Yes, very useful. Yeah, you're all gonna fall in love immediately with all of these items. So that's it. And so, Lily, anything else you'd like to let our audience know, just as they're starting out in their interior design career? Any advice that you might have from your journey to where you are now?
Well, I didn't think about this.
Surprise.
But I would say be patient with yourself. You'll naturally grow in your confidence and your skill level the more that you do it. And it's a constant process of just learning and growing and being a better designer, and, learning to work with your clients better and be in your business better and just do better all around. So you just got to have patience and courage, and you can do it.
Good. Encouraging words from Lily. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. I get to see you every day, but not everybody else does. So now they get to know you a little bit more and can understand what's going on behind the scenes. So thanks again, Lily. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Yay, so much fun. So I hope you guys all go out and enter into this contest. It's such a great giveaway. I love all of the products that we have included, and I don't really think it's that hard to enter, so you have a really good chance. And I'd love to hear your feedback and your comments on Instagram. If you leave a review in the podcast, it's really helpful for me going forward from here for the next however many episodes I decide to do this, that I make sure it's tailored to my audience and that you're hearing what you want to hear from me. So go ahead and enter to win our giveaway. And we're going to announce the winner on Instagram at the end of the week. So Friday, we're going to choose the winner. So in case you're listening to this at a later time. It's Friday, August 9th that we're going to announce our winner on our Instagram account. And then we'll send you a notification as well. So good luck. And until next time, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.